Hello there. Our farmers are getting to the end of a very short tether. What comes next may not be pleasant for our overlords. First, it was concerns that low food prices and environmental demands would drive their businesses into the dust that brought farmers out in droves to protest through London earlier this year. But now Keir Starmer's Labour Party has added a massively increased tax burden on them. A tax burden that threatens to destroy the whole concept of family farms in the UK. Something that threatens the whole concept of food security in the UK. Can you imagine being a 60-plus-year-old farmer, working mostly 7-day weeks, and having built your entire succession planning around the ability to hand on the entire farm to their successors with no tax albatross hung around its neck, suddenly have that whole plan trashed overnight by a vindictive socialist Labour Party, with the unstated aim of carving farms into smaller land units for property development. Now you may ask about the reduced amount of UK food that will be produced. Haven't these Labour politicians thought about that, you might ask? Well, I can imagine our champagne socialist cabinet looking around at each other in a bemused fashion, thinking to themselves, but don't other people get their food in hampers from Fortnum and Mason just like we do? I bet they think all food originates in plastic packaging in supermarkets. If you didn't think that UK agriculture was under fire from the Tories, well, surely you must now agree that Starmer's lot is preparing to deliver the coup de grace. After all, the UK uniparty policy on agriculture is just like the rest of the developed world. Replace it with bug-eating and factory-produced chemical frankenfoods. While they plunder what's left of land ownership and turn it over to green energy and houses for newcomers. To the point that anyone who's built anything up in the UK must now be worrying about how long it will be before the HMRC inspectorate is at their door demanding the lot. No wonder the farmers plan another protesting foray into London on Tuesday the 19th of November. They did this in March and brought the city centre to a standstill with all their heavy machinery. I even remember reports that tractors were stopped on motorways by police, trying to stop them getting to the capital as a coordinated mass. But let's hope that our farmers are more restrained than their European counterparts have been in the past. After all, we don't want to see copious amounts of slurry sprayed about with abandon in the Westminster area. Do we? I mean, isn't there enough of the stuff spouted inside the hallowed halls of Parliament already? I mean, it's just not British, is it, to spray slurry everywhere? The rally organised by the NFU will take place on Tuesday the 19th of November at Church House Conference Centre at Westminster in central London. The organiser confirmed it will be able to accommodate about 600 farmers, but many more are expected to arrive in the capital, reports the Farmers' Guide. And NFU President Tom Bradshaw said that many farmers are now at breaking point. Farmers and growers have been left reeling from the changes announced in the budget, he said, which demonstrates a fundamental lack of understanding of how the British farming sector is shaped and managed. The current plans to change agriculture property relief and business property relief need to be overturned and fast. Farmers are rightly angry and concerned about their future and the future of their family farms, having been reassured by ministers in the lead up to the budget that APR and BPR changes were not on the table. Exactly. Lying Labour politicians. All they had to do was invent an X-billion-pound sized black hole and blame it on the Tories, big it all up, then spray the claim around with abandon to justify kicking their targets into oblivion. Now, one of the big problems with modern agriculture is that it is asset-rich but profit-poor. That is to say, it takes a lot of expensive land and very expensive kit to make a poor profit from feeding the nation. And I reckon that our more socialist than people realised Labour government wants to get their grubby hands on the money tied up in those assets. To get the land into the hands of property developers for solar and wind farms, as well as the huge numbers of houses they need for the planned, yes, planned, influx of newcomers over the coming years and decades. After all, they probably think that we can just import more food from the same places that we're importing all those people from. And getting that land carved out from what our in-power communists see as the large landowning gentry is, as we are all aware, just part of the class wars. Now, on top of a London protest on the 19th, that I hope to be at, by the way, the farmers have another cunning ploy in mind. They are looking at the possibility of a sewage strike. Yes, the water companies that treat our sewage go on to create biosolids from it. Biosolids that are superfoods for crops. The farmers then use that to fertilise the land for greater crop yields. A mutually beneficial arrangement between farmers and water companies. But the farmers are threatening to stop ordering those biosolids, something that would create a huge pile of waste that the water companies would be forced to deal with themselves, either by burning it or putting it into landfill, or trying to push it illegally into rivers. And that's something the environmentalists would not be happy about. Now, I've got a better idea for it, but that would probably be illegal too, and as I've already pointed out, very un-British. Now, if we don't help defend the farmers against what is in effect an asset land grab by government, it will only be a matter of time before they come after someone else. Maybe slap a tax on the sale of your main or only home when you sell it. Just because they say they won't do it doesn't mean they won't. Once they've frittered away that money from the farmers, sprayed it up the walls of net zero diversity and reparations. They lied to farmers about tax, they lied to pensioners about tax, and they lied to workers about tax. They will lie to you about tax. They are shameless socialist liars who believe that all their actions are justified in the greater global good. And that also includes their lies. They believe their lies are good lies, and they spout out quite a lot of them as a consequence. Be in no doubt this Labour government is far from finished in its tax extraction programme. They will not be happy until they've squeezed every available source dry for the greater global good. Be afraid.